Okay, welcome everyone. Today is January 26th. This is the Brand Power Hour. My name is Mallika Malhotra. I think I know everybody here, but if I haven't met you, I am a brand strategist. I am a mentor and speaker for female entrepreneurs. People call me the brand CEO, or that's actually what I branded myself, the brand CEO. And I really try to help women stand out in their marketplaces. So if you ever feel like, you don't have the time or expertise to really master your message, find that niche, that's what I'm really good at, to help you position yourself as the sought after expert. And I've created this community of brand builders called the Brand Power Hour so that we can all connect and come together. And twice a month, I bring in speakers, either myself or a guest speaker, to learn about something new. So today we're going to be learning about wealth building, and we'll get into that in a second. But before we do that, just a couple of housekeeping things. So again, put in the chat, say hello, tell us what you do, where you're from, put your contacts in so that people can connect. But I also wanted to share with you some of the upcoming Brand Power Hours that are for February so that you can mark these in your calendar. Okay, this is what I'm gonna, oh gosh, people are coming in. Okay, so this is what's happening in February. We have SEO. If you feel challenged with SEO, which I often do, I have Nina Gibson who's coming in, who is going to be talking about how to elevate your visibility with legacy content. She is the master of SEO. I'm going to actually also, if I can do this, pop in, where's my chat? That is the registration for that Brand Power Hour. And then we have on February 16th, Nicole Kepik, who is a brilliant copywriter. She's going to be talking about 10 tips for writing a fun and unforgettable sales page. And this is the registration for that. So hopefully you guys will come back for both of these. Some other things that'll be coming down the pipeline in March. I'll be doing a book club. So picking the book in the next couple of weeks. I have 3 books that I just ordered from Amazon, and I'm going to pick one, or maybe even poll you guys to see which one you'd like to do. And we'll have the whole month of February to read, and then we can come together to do like a nice discussion in March. And if you are someone who wants to speak and share your expertise, please reach out to me. I have an application. I would love to have you come in, even if it's your first time. It is a safe space. I love to encourage you to be the expert, be that specialist, share your knowledge with this group. So definitely reach out to me if you'd like to do that. Okay, so that's all I have for you on that. So let me introduce you to the brilliant Caroline, who is here today. So we are talking about 5 reasons you are not building wealth and how to start. So she is a financial advisor and strategist and speaker, and she specializes in helping highly ambitious women and their families build a financial plan for their dream life. So all of us in this room fit that ideal client. She takes a holistic approach to financial planning. She's able to help clients identify their goals, build a plan, and help them achieve their dreams. And in order to do this, she uses investment, retirement, education, tax, and trust and estate planning tools. So if some of these things scare you by hearing them, every time I hear taxes, I kind of sweat. Don't worry, we're all in a safe space. She is here to break it down for us and really empower us to think about wealth building in a new way. And really, I hope to help us really dream bigger for our businesses. So excited that you're here. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise. Welcome to the Brand Power Hour.
Thank you so much for having me. I love everything that Mallika does. So to be here and with you all, I am so excited. I am originally from New Jersey, but I'm actually in Puerto Rico for a conference right now. So for all of you that are with the snow, enjoy. I'm hiding in the warm weather here. So I know Mallika probably has like 2 feet outside her door, and I'm like, that's great. I'm going to go drink a pina colada by the pool later. So awesome. I am going to share my screen and we can hop into everything here. All right. This is like the real test of, can I use technology? All right. All right. Fingers crossed. Oh, and my video is glitching. That's perfect. All right. As long as you can see the presentation, that's all that matters here.
Yes,
oh.
we can see
Okay.
it.
All right, as much as I'm glitching, as long as you can see and hear me, that's the important part. So, all right. So thank you, Mallika, for the incredible introduction. Like I said, or like Mallika said, my name is Caroline Tanis. I am a financial advisor and founder of Tanis Financial Group, which is proud to be part of the Women's Wealth Boutique. And if any of you know Jessica Weaver, she and I are close colleagues, and she founded the Women's Wealth Boutique, and I joined them last May after I spent several years at Merrill Lynch building my practice. I joined her, and it's been an incredible journey. So I love to start everything with a quote. And so it's funny enough, I'm actually at Rachel Rogers' conference down here in Puerto Rico. So I've had this quote in here though, so perfect timing. So this says that every woman needs to know what it feels like to wield economic power. And I think the important part of this is something we're going to talk about today, is that money is a tool. And this is something Rachel Rogers preaches as well, as using money as a tool. It's not good or bad. And I know that might be one of the limiting beliefs or blocks that you have coming into this, is that, is it greedy for me to want more wealth? Is it greedy for me to want more money, or to do these things and provide for my family in a certain way, or have a certain lifestyle? Just a little, teaser. No, it's not. I think that's something that we're going to debunk and demyth. And that's one of the things that actually really stops us from building wealth and building up that fear inside of us. All right. So as I said, my name is Caroline Tanis. I'm a certified divorce financial analyst. Do not worry, I'm not going to tell everyone to get divorced here today. And I also have my MBA in quantitative finance. So I built my practice at Merrill Lynch, and I got kind of tired of helping old rich men get even richer. And so I said, I want to be doing something to meet people where they are and where they should be. And so that is what I've been able to do so far by moving over to the Women's Wealth Boutique. Like I said, I'm a New Jersey resident. Unfortunately, I normally live in the cold. I did see, though, we got the snow while I was gone, and I was like, oh man, I missed having to shovel, darn it. I'm a proud mom to an adorable wiener dog named Chester, who if you hop onto my Instagram or website, you will see him. And I love to post little videos of him like trying to run through the snow with his little legs. So very entertaining. And like Mallika, I am a huge book nerd. So she and I are always like swapping book recommendations, or, trying to figure out, what the next read should be. Oh, my video glitching is such a stinker. All right. So seen my name pop up before. I've been featured and have been a contributor to places like Yahoo Finance, Retail Me Not, Go Banking Rates, Morningstar, and several more that are not listed here. All right, so I always think we need to understand the past in order to help build the future. So let's talk about the 5 reasons why you aren't building wealth. So number 1, you are trying to keep up with the Joneses. So I think this really got exacerbated during the pandemic, right? How much time did we all spend on social media and trying to, see what everyone else was doing? Were they sneaking out? What were they buying? All the influencers blew up during this time. And so feel free to put in the chat too. Were you spending more time on Instagram? Was it TikTok, Facebook? Were we following what people were buying, what they were doing? Or I know personally too, I was saving things in my Instagram feed saying, oh, this is where I want to go when the pandemic's over. This is how I want to spend my money, and here's what I'm going to do with it. And that really caused us to keep up with the Joneses, right? And you think about your neighbor next door just bought a new Range Rover. I personally, have learned not to care. I don't care about cars. It's not my thing. It's not where my passions lie. I'd rather go on a vacation and be stuck by the pool. Whereas some people are like, I want the car. I want the next thing. But we see that and we think this is what we need to prove that we're wealthy, to prove that we have a certain status. And that's one of the 5 that really stop us from building wealth, is we're spending on the things that don't make us feel our true wealth. So the second one is lifestyle creep. So I'm sure many of us have experienced this. You make more money, right? You get excited, you land a new client, you get a promotion at work or a bonus, and we want to spend it. We all have that saying of, oh, when I have more money, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, right? We say, I'm going to, and feel free if you want to put that in the chat as well, like what you've planned and thought about. When I have more money, I'm going to do this. However, the problem is a lot of times our lifestyle creeps up faster than the money we are earning. And a lot of this too goes back to the whole social media life and things like that, because we are watching what other people are spending their money on, right? When I have $1 million, I'm going to buy a Range Rover, go on a trip around the world, buy Louis Vuitton luggage. And it's not that these things are bad, but if they're not the things you want, it's going to stop you from building wealth. And a lot of that comes back into the lifestyle creep. And as I put here, we sometimes outgrow, and we are growing our expenses faster than we are making the money. Self-sabotage. So I put a photo of me here because I know I do it to myself. And we all have that moment when we look in the mirror and we say, why are you doing this to yourself? You're worth so much more. You are, you have bigger dreams. You can accomplish that. And a lot of it comes back to unresolved issues with your money story, right? We all grew up in a certain way, hearing things from our parents, family members, friends, things on TV. For me personally, I grew up, my parents are divorced. I grew up in a single parent household. My mom was a teacher, right? So I always remember when she got her paycheck, that second Friday and fourth Friday of the month, she would be like, take the money while I have it. We're going food shopping, take it while I have it. And that's something that I catch myself saying to myself every once in a while. I'll be like, oh, I got paid. Let me go in, not just pay bills, but spend it here, spend it there, do this, because then it'll be gone. But it's gone because I'm the one spending it and getting in that pattern of sabotaging myself. So for me, that's a money story that I've always taken a step back and say, money is abundant. It's going to continue to flow to me. I can make more of it. It's not just this thing that's going to come and I have to spend it quickly. Otherwise, I won't get what I want in this world. So I encourage you to take a second here and think about what your unresolved money story is. Is it a way you grew up with your parents? Is it a way that, a certain situation in your life may have affected your money journey, your accumulation of wealth? And everyone has a different one. And some people are like, no, I grew up in a typical, I was speaking to someone this morning and she's like, I don't have this crazy story. Like I just grew up in a 2-parent income household and that's what it is. I don't have anything crazy to unresolve. I just want to live a comfortable life. And I'm like, that's great. That is your story. And if you don't have an unresolved money story, that's okay. There are other reasons in here too that you may have struggled to build wealth. But I found a lot of times when working with clients, there's some little thing, even if it's the smallest thing that you've heard or been told from society, that really stops us in our tracks.
The one thing I'll say, Carolina, is I don't think, this is something you shouldn't take lightly, these types of stories, this narrative that you have in your mind, because it could be a huge block. And personally, my story, I'll tell you, like, it's taken me years to resolve. Like, I had come from a family of doctors. So being an entrepreneur and thinking that I could build wealth or have a job that makes money that is similar to someone who's saving lives and had years of, residencies in this, it was like a narrative that I would play in my head that I wasn't worthy of any money that I would make because it didn't relate to what they did. But that's a story I have to really reprogram myself and say, like, we all make choices. We all have different paths. We all have impact in our own ways, and we can make wealth and make money in any avenue. And one isn't better than the other. So like, these stories are there. It's just a question of like unpacking them. And if you're finding that there are blocks with your financial dreams and you're not getting there, it's probably because you haven't unpacked some of those stories.
Yeah. And it can be the smallest thing too, right? Even a common one I hear with, moms who are running a business is that, oh, this is just supposed to be my side hustle. I'm supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm supposed to work. That is so false. You can build something as big as you want it to be. Or also, another conversation I had with somebody was, she was like, I don't want to build $1 million business. I want to build something where I can provide for my family comfortably. But everyone tells me I have to build this huge thing. I'm like, no, you don't. You have to build whatever it is that fits your dream and your lifestyle. So like, I love that you shared that as well about family of doctors, right? We always view this as this like higher up, they deserve all the money, and they do. They are incredible human beings. As somebody who has met with so many doctors over the last couple of weeks with a family emergency, I thank them to infinity beyond, but that doesn't devalue what we are doing, the businesses we are running, and the services that we are providing for people. And that also causes us as well in terms of self-sabotage. I know that we had several business owners in here. And so that doesn't mean you need to lower your prices, to do things for free because you don't deserve to have this money. And that too could be part of your unresolved money issues or money block. My point is, it doesn't always stem from childhood. It could be at any point in your journey. All right. So the fourth one I talk about is you are only focusing on the short term. And once again, I think this comes back to the pandemic, right? We didn't know what was going to be happening in the short term. It was one day at a time. I remember turning on the TV and it was constantly 2 more weeks of lockdown, and we gave up trying to make plans. I mean, how many of us canceled vacations or family gatherings or, even in-person events, right? It's crazy to sit here and say like, wow, I'm at an in-person event. This is the first time in 3 years, because none of us could plan that far ahead. So my intern over the summer actually came up with this for me. She was like, stop screwing over future you. And I was like, that's it, right? We self-sabotage, we screw over our long-term selves because we also want things so immediately, right? And that goes back to the keeping up with the Joneses. It's like, well, I want this right now. Well, what can we do so that you are fulfilled now, fulfilled midlife, future generations, 10 plus years from now? And it does mean, there is going to be some giving up in the short term. But a lot of times when I work with clients, I find that the things they're giving up right now are things they don't even want. Everyone says you have to own a house, you have to have a second house, this, that, and the other thing. If that's not what you want, let's say I want to be a digital nomad. I want to be able to travel the world or the country and work where I want to work. It's really quintessential that you listen to what you want, because you're going to start screwing over you in the long term because you're thinking, this is what I'm told I need in the short term. So I'm sure you're probably thinking of examples right now, like, oh, I remember when I did this. I always think about, I have back at home the Gucci belt sitting in my closet. And I think about it, I leave it in there and I don't sell it because I want to look at it every day. And I'm like, I have worn this thing twice. How many hundreds of dollars did I spend on that stinking belt? Because everyone had it, right? We all know when it was popular and everyone had the belt. And I was like, oh, I have to have it because everyone else has it. Worn it twice. So I keep that in there as a reminder of, you didn't want this. And now you took away funds for yourself in the short term and screwed over yourself in the long term because of something you wanted or because of something you thought you wanted. And the fifth one is that you don't know what your dream life is. And I do a lot of exercises with clients and I talk about, what is it that you truly want? Once again, not what society tells you to want, or your parents telling you have to buy a home with 7 bedrooms and the picket fence and the dog. But also, to the same point, if that's what you want, that is more than okay. And I find there's a lot of that like cognitive dissonance and that like uncomfortable feeling in our bodies when we're not working towards what we want. And that's what stops us, right? If you don't want $1 million business, or if you don't want the Range Rover, then you're never going to get there because it's not what you truly want. Your body is going to fight it. You're going to resist everything because you're going to make money choices that are going to stop you from getting there. And we don't think about it necessarily because it's what everyone else has. This is what I'm supposed to have. Or we don't accept that I want to be like everyone else and have these things. Right. So I encourage you to, even after today, we're going to do a journal prompt in a second here, but I encourage you to think about, what does that dream life look for you? And take some time to accept it. If you're married, sit down with your partner, have a conversation and say, this is what my dream looks like. What does your dream look like? And find your marriage of the two, literally in your marriage, and, find where they align so that you can both be fulfilled. And if you're both sitting there working towards those dreams together, you're going to remove so many of the barriers from trying to fight and claw and get to somewhere that you don't want. So I actually do want to pause here, and we are going to do a journal prompt, and we're going to take about 5 minutes here. So if you have a sheet of paper or on your phone, wherever you want to do it, and we are going to take 5 minutes here, and I want you to write down, pick one of the 5, right? Whether it's, you don't know what your dream life is, you're keeping up with the Joneses, you're screwing yourself over in the short term. pick one of them, and I want you to just go all in and look at the past decisions you've made around that, right? Why is this such a big reason why you aren't building wealth? What were the choices you made? How are you feeling? This is for you. I'm not going to make anyone share it. Don't worry. This is completely for you, completely personal. If you want to share it, by all means, but I don't want you to stop or limit yourself because you think you're going to have to share it. And then after that, we're going to do a fun little giveaway, and then we'll jump in then to 5 ways to actually start building that wealth. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes. Maybe in those 5 minutes, I'll stop twitching.
Can you just repeat the prompts one more time?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Pick one of the 5 reasons, and I want you to write down how that's contributed to your not building wealth. What were the actions that you were doing in relation to one of the 5 reasons? What emotions were you feeling? Thoughts, choices?
Caroline, it's the 5. I think they want to know, like, what was number 1 to.
Oh, thank you. Yep. I'll just even flick through them too. So keeping up with the Joneses is number 1. Number 2, lifestyle creep. Number 3, self-sabotage. Number 4, focusing only on the short term. And number 5, you don't really know what your dream life is. I know some people are picky about music, so I'm not going to put any on and torture us. I know some people get distracted by it. So I'll give you guys 5 minutes to write this out. You have 2 more minutes to wrap it up, and then we'll hop into Mallika's giveaway. All right. I was hoping if I stopped my video and restarted it, it would help with the camera. I've never had this happen before. So you know what? You gotta love technology, and it's never our friend when we need it to be, right? Sorry. We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. I'll just have this cool, funky, two-colored flashing going on. That's fine. So what better way to kick off the 5 reasons why you aren't building wealth than to start with a little giveaway. So Mallika has a copy of You Are a Badass, which is a great book that she is going to give away to somebody. So the question that I have, which will determine our winner, name 3 of the ways that stop us, or 3 of the reasons why you aren't building wealth. So if you want to pop 3 of them in the chat, and the first person to have 3 of them will be our lucky winner for the book. And if you haven't read it, I do encourage you. It's a good place to start and jump into a book.
Don't be shy, guys. 3, what was it? 3 reasons you're not
3 of the 5. Pick any 3.
I think are you looking at the chat, Caroline?
No, I can't see it with oh, wait.
Because I think I listed them all there, so I'm not sure if you want me to ask your question.
I can't see. It was covered. Oh, so that's gonna be a cheater. Okay. We'll do a different question. Oh, I'm trying to think of something. When is Mallika's next event? When's the next Brand Power Hour?
What's the topic for the next Brand Power Hour?
There we go. That's a good one.
Yes, Erica, you got it. Have you read it? Have you read it before? This book? No? Okay, good, perfect. It's an oldie but goodie, so I'm sure a lot of you have read it or have seen it. So Erica Littman, I'm going to be sending this your way. Just DM me your address so I can send it to you. So before you switch to the next section of this, I just wanted to say one thing, because I think you've sort of been talking about this a little bit about what wealth is, right? Wealth is a very personal definition. So some people might think about it as, money, reaching a certain level. It could be status, it could be things. But really, for some of us, it could be just time, right? Time and experiences, a lifestyle that we want to have. So it's, this whole practice really should kind of debunk some of those misconceptions of what wealth is. We can really define it, what we want wealth to be. So I just want to make sure, because everyone has a different way to define it, and not one isn't right and one isn't wrong. But really it's what you are moving towards with your business, what you define as what that wealthy life is. So just want to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, that was amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that. That is kind of, everyone asked me, they're like, well, what's the number? What makes me wealthy? What makes me, successful? That's for you to decide. Right. And I think everyone looks to me and they're like, I want the number. I want the hard number. I'm like, I can tell you what number you need to attach to that. So if you want to have a certain amount of money for a down payment, what do we need to do to get there? If you need the certain amount of money for retirement, we can look at those things, but you're the one who needs to start and say, this is what I want my retirement to look like. I want it to look like a second home, or time on the beach, or to live right near my grandkids when that time comes. That's your wealth story and what you define. And I also want you to take a look at this list that you've created, or the note you wrote to yourself, whatever it was. It's over, right? We can't change the past. We learn from it. We move forward. I have so many clients, they'll come to me and they'll say, I wish I knew this when, I wish I did this differently. We are always going to have those moments. But if you can't forgive that, you'll never be able to move forward. So if you want to do a burning ceremony, toss it in the fireplace, rip it up, by all means, go ahead. But it's part of that is really just the forgiveness that you can't change it. What's in the past is in the past. You can only change things going forward and for future generations. All right. So let's dive in to the 5 ways we can change things going forward. First of which is I encourage you to do a financial audit. Number 1, where is your money? The amount of times I sit down with people and I ask them, where is your account, is incredible. They have no idea what banks they're using, where their 401k is, or I'll have people come to me months later and say, we've been working together for months, and they say, oh my gosh, I forgot I had an account with this bank or with this retirement company from a job I had, right when I was out of college. And people lose it. And that's, the silliest way to lose money is just by leaving accounts behind. So for some people too, doing this audit means consolidation. I talk to people, they're like, I have 5 different banks. I'm like, great, what do they do for you? They were like, nothing, I can't even remember the passwords to get in. I'm like, great, that does not help you build wealth in any way, shape, or form if you can't even find the money or access it. The second part of this financial audit is, how is the money working for you? Are you stockpiling it in a bank account because you're afraid to do anything else with it, or you don't know, right? You don't know where the right decision and step is to go. So many people I sit down with, they're like, I don't know if I should be putting more away for retirement. I don't know if I should be putting more away in a taxable account and investing in stocks. Once again, it comes down to that number and amount comes down to what is it you're working towards and where are you now, and filling the gaps in order to get there. But understanding what types of accounts as well do you have? Are they retirement accounts? Are they taxable accounts that you can access now? Are they invested? What are they invested in? And I'm not saying you need to understand the difference of, the beta or the dividend payments of certain stocks, but just know, as in general, like, where do you go to access that information? What is the information that you are accessing? Right? We need to have this basis knowledge of where things are and how they're working for us in order to build this wealth. All right. The second one is learning to say no. And I think it comes down to emotional choices, financial choices. Learning to say no, I think, is the best thing you can have, especially as a business owner, is setting that boundary. And for so many of us, that's a money boundary because we don't want to let people down or we don't want to miss out on things. However, it's funny. I had someone tell me, they were like, I went to a birthday dinner for my friend's cousin's daughter. I'm like, do you know them? She was like, no, but she was in town, so I went. Why? They were like, I didn't have a good time. I spent all this money just because they didn't want to say no, because it was this person who they don't know, who's like twice removed. They went to their birthday dinner. I'm like, why? Just say no. Say no to the things that you don't want to do, that you don't want to spend your money on. Because then when the time comes to spend it on the things you want to spend it on, you all of a sudden don't have it. And then you're going to sit there and kick yourself. And I'll do an audit with clients where I sit down and we'll look at their spending over the last 12 months to see where we can find ways to save, put more away for retirement, things like that. And they're like, oh my gosh, I don't remember spending this money. I don't know who I was with. I don't know what I did. And they get so frustrated with themselves because this money just flew out the door. And we're not talking, $5 here, $10 there. We're talking hundreds and thousands of dollars on something that they didn't want to do, or they didn't want to buy, or a place, we all have, I don't want to pay my water bill, but unfortunately that has to get done. So I'm not talking about those, necessary expenses. I'm talking about that discretionary income. All right, fighting the lifestyle creep. So one of my favorite phrases say, stop saying when I have more, I will do blank. We all have those bucket list items we want, but how do we fit that in to what we're trying to work for? When I have $1 million, I will buy the Lamborghini, things like that. Make sure they're aligned too with what it is that you are trying to build your life around. Mallika gave that great example of defining wealth for yourself. If you are using this phrase, when I have more, I will do blank, in order to build your dream life. However, I find that when people say the statement, they're saying it for things they don't want. And so I know a common one a lot of coaches will talk about is, say when, not if. I think that is awesome. I think that is great for what it is that you want. And fighting the lifestyle creep also goes back to that whole concept of keeping up with the Joneses, right? If there are things that you don't want, or you might not even need, right? There are people who are like, I want to have, a plane to 5 places, but they don't go anywhere. I'm like, what do you need a plane for then? Just to say you have it? We kind of get wrapped up in this image and the facade of things. I'm like, build the things that you want and you will get there. Be willing to invest.
Say one more Carolyn, on that previous slide, I think this applies to a lot of us with this bright, shiny object syndrome.
Yes.
We see, you know, all of the courses, all of the programs that other people are doing that are promising wealth being built fast tracked, and we have to be careful, right? Because that lifestyle that they're portraying is appealing, but we have to kind of make sure, you know, setting our boundaries, being clear on our goals, because, you know, in the social media and online world, it's like at our fingertips, we keep seeing it. So I think it's a good reminder, right? That lifestyle creep, to really go back and make sure it's always in alignment with the goals that you're setting for your business, personally and professionally, and making sure any decision where you're making investment, $27 or, you know, $27,000, it's still going to help you get to that next best step for your business. So I always, and I believe me, even just this morning, I was going to buy something just for $10 because I got caught up. It was like Brendan, whatever, that big wig guy, and there was Amy Porterfield's face on it. And I was like, I need to do this. And I was like, do I really need another course? No, I don't need another course. So it's like checking yourself, because and putting the blinders on, because that lifestyle creep, that business lifestyle creep, is a real thing. So just want to add that in there.
Yeah, my thing right now is I'm like, when I, you know, have more money, I will be putting a tech person on so I don't twitch. That's my only thought right now, but it's so true, right? We see like it's the marketing and the advertising, and that is so much of what we are sold, whether it's from society or even, you know, it was probably Brendan Burchard, right? He does that like growth. I get it all the time on my Instagram feed, and you see it so much. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I need Amy Porterfield to teach me how to build a marketing and sales funnel? And do I need to go do this? And it's the total shiny object syndrome. And we lose so much time and momentum. And don't get me wrong, that there are ones, and this actually perfectly leads into the fourth one, there are perfectly fit ones for us and what we are trying to build, but it's learning to set that boundary and say no, you know, back to my other point, to the ones that just don't fit for us. Anybody will try and sell you anything. And that's the world we live in, right? We have the social media at the hands of our fingertips, so anyone can access you any time of day. And it's, you know, setting aside those boundaries. However, you need to then be realistic, going into point number 4 of be willing to invest in your future. And so what does that really look like for you? And as I'm speaking, if you want to jot down a couple of things, you know, maybe it looks like, okay, it's time for me to hire a branding coach. Like, I know I'm ready to work with Mallika. It might be, okay, I'm ready to take a course to really learn about this, because that's what's going to take me to the next level. We're often sold this, like, you need to have a $10,000 website with a sales funnel page, and then the, you know, $20,000 brand photography shoot on top of, and we get sold this like $200,000 package to start a business, when if you slowly start to work with the right people and build on that, it makes all the difference. Like, I remember one of my first people I worked with was Mallika, who talked about branding and how to put my image out there in the right way. And that made me think so much about the business I wanted to build. And from there, you know, the ball keeps rolling and you keep growing and you start building and accumulating wealth and value in your business. And then you can take the steps. And it's not that we have to, you know, everyone's going to tell you need to spend the $100,000, $200,000 up front to have the shiny object syndrome and have Amy Porterfield do your sales funnel, email marketing, whatever it is she even does these days. I don't even know. So then another part of this too is, when you are at the point when you need to hire professionals. I always love the quote that's like, I want to be surrounded by people that are smarter than me, and hiring the people when it's the right time to say, okay, I'm ready to hire the marketing person who's going to take business to the next level. And I'm in a place where I can do that. Asking for help is a great way to invest in your future as well. You know, my dog this week is at my mother's because, like, I need to go here. You need something to do to be entertained with. So I say that they're taking care of each other, but ask for help and be willing to receive the help as well, I think, is another really important one, whether it's from your spouse, your in-laws who want to take the kids. I love, you know, Rachel Rogers talks about having somebody to come do your laundry or cook for you, but when you're ready to free up that time and invest in your future. And it's once again back to that, avoid the shiny object syndrome of, well, I want to have a cook because everyone else has a chef. I personally love to cook, and for me, that's a relaxing outlet. So I don't want to have a chef come cook for me, but I do love to get like a HelloFresh meal and it comes to my door and I'm like, I'm a professional chef now because I'm over here chopping a carrot, but I saved all the time from going to the grocery store and I'm still getting to cook, right? I don't need a personal chef to come cook for me. And the last one here, I love the whole idea of there's always a solution. It's always figure outable. Gosh, who is that from? It is from somebody, I think, in Brendan Burchard's world, actually, who talks about everything is figure outable. So stop, take a second, right? Before you jump in and you're like, I need to invest in this. I need to buy this to fix everything. And think about where you can figure this out in your own, or who you can reach out to, or who who can help you figure this out. And a lot of times I'll hear people, the clients will be like, well, I didn't want to bother you. I'm like, please bother me. Please ask me the question, because now we have to take a step back and we have to figure out, okay, you went out and made this purchase or you made this investment. I had one client who's like, I bought a house and I know this is earlier than we expected and I didn't want to tell you. I'm like, just tell me. I can help you. I can support you in the process. And afterwards they were like, oh my gosh, you could have helped me so much with, figuring out the mortgage, figuring out mortgage payments. And just because sometimes we're afraid to ask, there's always a solution and a way to help build a better future you. And the last one is getting clear on your dream life. What I love to do is I love to journal and sit in that quiet. I think during one of the best things to come out of the pandemic was a lot of like meditation. So I'll sit there and I'll put Headspace on, or I'll do, I'm doing yoga with Adrienne's 30-day yoga challenge, which I think is really fun. And there's something about sitting in that quiet and just having like the pen and paper next to you and writing down what that dream life is, or sitting down with your spouse or significant other. Maybe you even want to include the kids and do it as a family and say, what does life look for us in the future? What is it that we want? What do we want to achieve? I always encourage people, do it by yourself first, then bring in your spouse and then bring in your kids, right? Because you need to sit in the silence and figure out inside what it is you want, and then start to build around and say, okay, how do we make this something for our family? What's best for our family? Where do our dreams lie? Because if you're not clear on these, if you don't know where your goals are, your dreams are, you're never going to, not only are you not going to achieve them, but there's so much resistance inside of you because I've had so many circumstances where they're like, well, I just spent the money. I'm like, do you really want this? Do you really want what it is that you're working for? Because we so quickly just kind of throw it out the door and make it even harder for ourselves. So I encourage you, if you have some time in the snow, it looks pretty out there as from the photos I've seen. So take some time. I know like Mallika posted a photo a couple days ago of her in snow. I'm like, that is such a great moment to like take a walk in the snow and in the quiet when everything is so silent, right? Like the world stops and it's silent and you can just see what's inside of your own head. I think we live in a really busy world where it's like email, then I have to do this and I have to do 15 things at once and always keep going. But when you take that step back and you hear the silence and you hear yourself reflect is when you're going to see the reality of everything.
Caroline, do you have like when you're trying to paint this dream life, do you do 1 year out, 3 years out, 5 years out? Like, what do you recommend to your clients?
I recommend doing the short and the long term. So where do you want to be in 1 year, 10 years, and then retirement?
Okay.
So I recommend you kind of breaking them down into those three. So like 1 year from now, where do we want to be, right? Because that's going to affect how we're going to use short-term funds, because the way we're going to manage our money and set things up now for the short term is going to be very different than what we're going to do in 10 years and also in what we're going to do for retirement. So that helps me on the investment management side figure out what are the right accounts and what are the right investments. And then additionally, what are those goals, right? Are we buying a house? Are we taking a big trip? Like, is this going to be a recurring expense? Is this going to be, with a house, you have the mortgage where the mortgage payment's going to tack on every year. And that really kind of guides the conversation as well. And I'll actually do, I'll have them journal and I'll say like, okay, before our first meeting, here's what we're going to sit down. And I want you to take some time and really sit on this. And it's the homework, because we start planning and we start getting into things and you can just tell from someone's voice that the passion's not there or they're really struggling to get there. And I'm like, there's always some thing or root cause going on in there than just, I'm not building the wealth, and, they just brush it off and they have someone else to blame. And I'm like, maybe it's you not taking on dreams that you want.
Yeah. I mean, one exercise that I actually shared with my masterminders is writing that dream like it's already been done, like a letter to yourself, like it's already been done. So I had challenged them all. We were just talking about a 1 year, like at the end of 2023, writing right now, what happened? So
Yep.
you could do the same thing, right? For that 1 year, and even in 10 years. So like it's 2033, I'm going to be 60. I'm 60 years old.
And you'll still look 21.
But like writing it in that voice, like it's already happened. Because sometimes I'm not a big journaler, but sometimes doing it in that form and having exercise like that is helpful. Because then it's just like painting the picture of what you want, and it's like having a movie in your head, right? And you're writing it. So if that helps any of you who are not journalers, that's something that's definitely helped me, is writing it as if it's already happened. And then using that as your guide for the dream life.
I also think that's great too from a business planning standpoint, so you know where you want to be at the end of the year, right? So what then do you need to do to back into that? So, I'm like, okay, when I'm sitting here at the end of 2023, I want to be earning this much in revenue. I want to have helped this many people, or I want to have, started this course or membership, you name it, whatever it is for you. And that can back into your business planning, right? So if you want to be sitting there in that seat, it's one thing to sit there and say like, okay, this is my dream life. Now we need to put actionable steps in place. And now we actually have to do the things to get us there, whether it's the investments, the money management, the mindset work too, for a lot of us. And some people will then on the business side, break it down by quarter. What do I need to be doing each quarter, each month, each week? And that'll help determine from a business standpoint, what you're doing every day. Awesome. Well, this is this all I have in here? This is, I have my contact info. Okay. I was gonna say there's one more slide. So there's my contact info. If you have any questions or you want to just follow along, I post some stuff on Instagram and LinkedIn as well, if you want to stay in touch. I want to open it up to, I know we have like 10 minutes left, and see if we have any questions that I can answer.
Can you stop the share, Caroline?
Yes. Maybe that'll stop my twitching.
So weird. I've never seen that before.
This is like crazy. I had it happen for like 10 minutes yesterday and it stopped. And I was like, I wonder if it's just the Wi-Fi here. It's a really interesting.
Like we're all growing out of your head. Oh
yeah. It's
so weird. Okay. Questions. Who has questions here? Yes, Melissa.
Hi, my name's Melissa. I'm sort of at a pivoting point in my business. And one thing I think that was interesting that you talked about is like, how much money do you even need or want to make? Like, having that sort of set goal. But then you were also just talking about finance in general. And for me, I feel like, I don't know how many other people, like their husband is sort of the person who oversees the finances a lot more than I do. And then sometimes I feel like I don't even always know who the financial person to talk to is within a company like yours, where you're sort of, who's the person you're working with to sort of set these kind of goals and talk to, if that makes any sense. Like, yes, you have these bank accounts and you've got your 401k over here and your savings here. And it's like bringing it all together and making those goals. Like what type of people are within your field that sort of differ from others, if that makes sense. So
that is a really
talking to the right person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sorry, I stopped the video to stop my twitching, but I'm 100% here. No, that's a really great question. And it's one I think I get more often than not. And people always wonder, they're like, I'm tired of just sitting down with the male advisor and I don't know what to ask. And they're afraid of asking the wrong question. And it's a really big thing if they don't know who to ask or who to sit down with. And so I always say, always ask the question, don't be afraid to, and you have to work with the person that you feel is aligned with you and your husband, right? Where you both feel comfortable working with that person and who's going to answer the questions and not just beat around the bush with you and say, oh, don't worry about it, like he'll take care of it. you should be as involved in the planning process as you want to. I always say at a bare minimum, you need to know who to contact if God forbid anything happens, right? Like, let's say, God forbid your husband passes away tomorrow. You need to know, okay, I call John Smith and everything is taken care of. I just need to place a call to them. That is the minimum standard I set with my clients. Even if I'm only working with one spouse, I say, I want to have their contact information and they need to have mine, because in the event something happens, they know to reach out to me. And so the statistic is that women, we typically live longer than men. And so then what happens is I've seen it time and time again, where the woman will come into the office and she's like, oh my gosh, my husband had accounts here. I have no idea what they are. And at 70, 80, 90 years old, they're now having to learn about finances and the financial plan and everything that was set up. So I encourage all of you, at least get that contact info to know where you go and who to talk to if you need anything, and ask the questions. Like, any questions, burning questions you have, I'm always here if you have any, but also, if you're working with somebody, ask them the questions. And if they're not willing to answer, maybe it's not the right fit, and that's something you can think about. But even doing annual check-ins with your spouse and saying, I want to be involved and understand what we have, what our plan is. And that's a really great place to start.
And I might just add to that, Melissa, here's a question for you. Do you have your own business banking account?
Not fully, because I'm in the middle of like growing it. So everything has been, I guess, sort of.
I don't know, Caroline, what you recommend, but I definitely recommend, if you're going to have a business, you should really have your own business banking account, so that you can manage your money and kind of see what's coming in and what's going out. That's separated from your personal account. I know, so similar situation, fully transparent. I'm not the breadwinner of my house. My husband's the breadwinner, but I have my own business. I've had it for 20 years and I've always had my own business account. And so what I've done in the last 10 years, as my business started growing and really becoming profitable, is I'm able to contribute to the main family's account through my business account. So those are my own financial goals, right? And so you could think about how you can contribute to your family. You can contribute to your own retirement through a SEP, maybe from your business. That could be maybe a goal that you have for yourself that's kind of separated from the family. And to be honest, I'm pretty proud that it's separated from my family, because it's my money that I'm putting into my own retirement. God forbid anything happens. And so someone like Caroline or another financial advisor can kind of help you and guide you with how you can take your business separated from the family and contribute to the family, but also contribute to your own retirement. Correct, Caroline? Am I right saying that?
That was great. Yeah, I think, and there's a mental shift behind it too, right? Like I hear your excitement as you talk about being able to make those contributions. And I'm sure that all builds on each other, right? That fuels your fire to keep doing what you're doing. Not only are you helping other women's businesses, but you're able to now come back and provide in your family. Who cares what amount it is? Like, the fact that you have built something that gives you that empowerment to do it is, I would argue, priceless. You're building an asset by building a business, right? But you're contributing to your family, even if it's groceries, if it's paying off the credit card bill every month. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, how many people can say that? And I think that's just absolutely incredible. I also recommend, I am a huge fan of the profit first method for anybody who is, not sure how to set up the business bank accounts. Like, do I just put everything in one? Highly recommend Mike Michalowic's Profit First. I think is so helpful. I think it should be like the required reading for all business owners to help you figure out which accounts to have. And I think he has a list on his website too of banks that he recommends that will help with small business banking.
Yeah. So that, I mean, for me, like, the first step in building wealth is to set up my own sort of business account. And that, for any of you who doesn't have that yet, I highly encourage taking that as the first step, right? And then, it's just, again, it's finding the right people. Like, I think it's a financial advisor or a financial consultant who can kind of help you set it up and help you understand what those, like, either the steps to setting it up or even like understanding, where your money is going and all of that. Those would be the right people.
Yeah. And
sorry.
the other thing to kind of just be careful. I've seen so much on the internet now with like money coaches and people who, there's a big difference between a money coach and a financial advisor. Like I'm SEC and FINRA regulated, so I have to report things. I can make investment decisions and things like that that are tailored to you, whereas a lot of money coaches can't, or they should not legally be making those comments. A lot of them now are actually, there's a lot of like lawsuits coming out about it, just, which is crazy because they've kind of stepped over the line where they're not licensed to make those decisions. And they tell people like, go buy this stock or go open this account, when they can't do that because they don't know you. So they don't have, it's called that fiduciary capacity. So making sure that the person you are working with is, number one, a fiduciary, which is really important, which means that they are doing things in the best interest of the client. And so that is the definition of a fiduciary. The amount of times I've had people ask me like, are you a fiduciary? I say yes when I'm working with clients. And so don't be afraid to ask any person if they are, and if they aren't or don't know what it is, I encourage you to kind of take a second look and a deeper dive.
Right. It's sort of scary to start with someone new, even though if you're starting a new business, you sort of might want somebody new. It's like a terrifying. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's a scary jump to take to start with somebody new.
Yes, you got it.
I think Lisa, did you have a question? I thought I saw your hand raised.
You did, and no, you kind of just covered it, so I'm all set. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Anyone else have a question? Jen, do you have a question? Were you raising your hand? No. So if we don't have any questions, I guess, Caroline, like a first step for us, if we want to build our wealth, let's say we all have business bank accounts, we're all making money, like what is something that we can consider to do that would help us really get on the path of building wealth? Like something.
Yeah. That is a great question. So once again, it goes back to the financial audit and figuring out where things are. I also highly recommend automating things, right? So automate your savings, figure out, okay, I at a minimum, I'm going to put this much away in savings every month. And it is incredible once you see that start to build up. And then the conversation from there will grow. Okay, should that money go into retirement? Should it go into investments, investment property? You know, you name it. Those are kind of deeper conversations. But when you don't have to think about it and you see that buildup of, I don't care if it's $50 every 2 weeks, that's $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. When you see that start to just grow and it's happening without you having to do anything, it really mentally changes things for you. Yes, it's going to get you on the right path to start building wealth. And there's, you know, ways to handle it from there. But just even from a mental standpoint of seeing, wow, I built an account and I built a business that contributes that account that is now growing. And I have that in my pocket to use however I want to build my dream. You're going to see a lot of changes and things are going to start to snowball from there.
Oh, I love that. That's a great, I'm going to do that today.
I love it.
How I clear the house one day, I can at least contribute to maybe, but
exactly.
But it is true. Like I'll tell you guys, like I automate payments that go to my household. I automate a payment that I save for like the accountant or taxes, right? Like money that's just going aside. It's like, I know I'm going to have to pay the big bill for the accountant. And so I'm just going to start saving throughout the year. And so
That's
if you,
awesome.
it's like, if you can just start automating it and putting it in different accounts where you're not touching it, you're going to be saving for the wealth that you want to have for your business. And so sometimes it's like a mental thing, like, oh, I'm not going to have enough money for like the daily stuff. It's going to deplete. But often as women, we're so scrappy. We're going to work with what we have anyway. So it's almost a good practice to just put it aside and then see what you have. And then it will probably help you make better decisions of what you want to spend your money on. So
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And you don't even know, sometimes it's an amount you don't even notice it. And you get so used to living without it by it automatically coming out. You just kind of look around and you think, oh, I forgot, you know, that's amazing. This has just been building up and happening, and it starts to happen without, and then you're going to increase the amount because you're like, oh, let's keep this going. And it really builds upon that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Caroline, for sharing your expertise. I hope it's inspired you guys to look at your finances, do the audit, dream big, write those dreams down, and start automating. That's something that we should all do today, if we can, is just automate a little bit, put some of this money into a little nest egg for those big goals. But if you want to reach out to Caroline, do you want to put your info just in the chat so that if people want to save the chat, they have it? Definitely reach out to her. I'm sure she can answer any further questions or anything you might want to talk privately that you might not have wanted to talk today publicly. But so happy that you're part of this community, guys. It's really, I love connecting with you, and hope to see you in February when we have the talk with Nita Gibson on SEO. You'll be getting a link to the recording, but also you'll be getting the links to the upcoming meetings so that you'll have access to them if you weren't able to sign up today. But thank you so much for being part of this community, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for bearing with my tech issues.
Thank you, Caroline.
Bye.